It's a kind of life's work. It's a film that started in 1964 when we chose 14 children from different backgrounds at a time in England when society seemed to be changing with rock and roll and with fashion and politics, and we were curious to see whether English society was changing, whether that was just surface. It was only ever going to be one film, just a look at England at 1964 through the eyes of 7-year-old children, not through the eyes of politicians or journalists or psychologists or sociologists, but through children talking about themselves and their view of the world. But it was a striking film and a very resonant film. It was chilling about how it showed that the English class system, which was at the heart of it all, was very much alive and well. And so it really wasn't brain surgery to decide to go back to see how they were doing 7 years later. And that film was a little awkward. It was adolescent and spotty, and I mean the people were spotty and answered in monosyllables and whatever, so it was a bit arduous, but you could see the beginnings of a big idea. And so simply then we ran with it, and every 7 years I've been back, and this is the 7th film, 49 up, and it's simply chronicled the lives of these people through all the, the changes that they've gone through over the last 4 decades. They were chosen because they could present themselves well at 7. I went to the schools and spoke to the teachers and said, bring me forth your brightest and your best, and I talked to a lot of people, and we filmed a lot of people and whittled it down. So there were people from a very early age who could articulate and weren't overwhelmed by the experience of sitting in front of a camera being grilled with questions. But they have turned out to be incredibly articulate, and I like to think that's because everybody can be, and everybody is. Everybody's got a story to tell. And if you give people the time and the space, and you're talking about things that people have lived through, people can be very moving and articulate about their lives. And there aren't many pieces of work, especially in film, that has the patience or the longevity or the time to do that, to, as it were, to honor the drama of ordinary life, which is, after all, the big drama of life, not the drama of movies and television and whatever, but the dramas we all have to go through, that we all, in some way or another, touch us all. Children, jobs, marriage, whatever. And it's just interesting when, and they are ordinary people, they're not any more special than anybody else, but they do seem to be able to express themselves, which I think gives you a general truth that people can tell stories. The only way I can do it every 7 years is to completely try and start with a blank sheet, with an empty mind, if you like. I'm not trying to find themes in it. I'm not trying to do clever dick questions that I did 7 years ago and get another answer to it. I mean, sometimes that happens, of course. But I find the way to give it life and the way to make it interesting is to approach each generation of the film with a fresh eye. Because all the films, interesting, are completely different in tone. And if you sit down, God help you, because there's a lot of the films, so if you sit down and watch them, it's curious how different they are. Some are sadder than others, some are, about a clear message comes through. I mean, I remember 35 Up was very, in a sense, to do with death, because a lot of them are losing their parents. And, there's a different tone to all of them. So I think all I have to do is show up, not try and preempt what they're going to say, not try and guide people through it, not try and have them say what I think they should say, is to try and take myself out of the equation and let them speak. I mean, I'm involved in their lives and interested in their lives, but really I think their films are successful if I can just get them to tell their story at each generation, and then really let the audience figure it out. What is it about for the audience, not what is it about for me? It's what are these lives about, and what do you as an audience get from it? Because everybody gets different things out of it. Some characters appeal to people, some moments appeal to people. It's rare for you to sit through the film and not find something that you can relate to. And I think it's my job, in a sense, just to present it and not to try and have my voice, as it were, projected through the film, not to make it a projection of my own values. And that's quite a hard thing to do, because I am who I am. I have certain views about everything, obviously, about ambition, money, sex, whatever. And what I don't want to do is in any way try and impose those. What we're interested in is what these people have to say.